My name is Reed Tso. My NDN clan, which is the name of the people that I originate from. And in the NDN way, we introduce ourselves by saying our clan affiliation first. Uh, my clan is called Tohetini, which means where the rivers meet. And my father's clan is the Reed people clan. And my maternal grandfather's clan is Zuni Edgewater. And my paternal grandfather's clan is Mini Goats. And that is usually how we introduce ourselves, and then we get into where we're from. And I am from Tonanistiza, which in English means tangled waters. It's also known as Tuba City. But today I've been asked to say something about hunting, how the NDN people used to hunt and prepare for hunting. And what I'm about to say and tell you about is a subject that dates way back to a time before I was born, and my grandfather's time and his grandfather's time, and way back to before the coming of the Europeans. And the way I understand it is that it takes great effort and great planning to go hunting and to make preparations for it. And usually most hunting is done in the fall time, when it's said that the game animals are at their prime from feeding from springtime through summer to the fall. And that's when is the best time to hunt them, because that's when they taste the best and they have prepared themselves for winter. So as the people, as the NDN people called themselves, became aware of it eons of time ago, way, way, way back in time, when it was discovered on how to hunt. And after discovering of how to hunt, they ritually prepared themselves. And to do that, a sweat lodge was built, and the men that were going to go hunting were selected by the leader of the hunt. And the selected men would separate themselves from the people that they normally lived with, such as their wives or girlfriends. And once that selection was made and they separated themselves from their normal living pattern, they secluded themselves by making a camp away from their community, usually in a secluded place and a private place where either there was already a sweat lodge that was prepared years before, or a new one was constructed for this purpose. And in order to do this, mountain tobacco was used, that was especially made for the hunt. And herbs were collected, which were prepared and boiled to get the strength from the herbal medicine, which were plants. And these were taken by the men, the hunting party, who were going to hunt a specific game that they were chosen for. And in preparation, they drank this medicine to prepare themselves for the hunt. and they would sweat. Normally it was 4 days, and also nighttime was included 4 nights. And a diet was uh, selected for the men, that they were to eat only certain foods. There were certain foods that were forbidden. And then what also was forbidden was the men that were selected to go hunting were to abstain from contact with the women and abstain from having sex with any woman. And during this preparation time, there were songs and prayers that were conducted and recited to mentally and physically prepare the men for the hunt. And during this time, they were instructed to not think about the women, the female species, because it was said through oral tradition that the female and the women could interfere with the hunt and perhaps bring bad luck. So with that, the men thought of only one thing: to go out and hunt the animal or animals that they were asked to seek. And because in traditional times, and you must also know that this is way back in time before modern time, before there were automobiles and new technology, even having modern day weapons as rifles and pistols and such. So if you can imagine that life in those times were much more harsh and much more difficult than it is now. And the reason for that is these men had to travel cross country up into the mountains or into canyons where the game could be found. And therefore it took great concentration and great preparation to overcome the obstacles of hunting. Not only the physical aspect of the hunt, but also the mental side of it, which included preparing by taking the proper medicine and food to strengthen the body, and to also respect the animals that they were going to go hunt, because this was really food for their families and community from which they came. And you must remember that back in those times, there was no processed foods as we know of today, with refrigeration and such. So it took a lot of effort, concentration, but with the difficulty of old-time hunting, not only did they have to overcome the conditions of the time and the weather and the harshness of the country. You must imagine there were no four-wheel drives or modern-day Ford tracks to help people travel through difficult country, but they had to set out basically on foot. So when they did this, they had to prepare themselves and think positive. And it was so important that they had to think about overcoming the game that they sought, and then also to harvest enough game that it could last throughout the winter. And this usually meant food that would sustain the people for at least 4 to 5 months until springtime. And not only in just having the enjoyment of having a hunt, for the sake of hunting, but it meant that when they did harvest, that the harvest had to be done in such a way that each animal that was harvested had to be processed in a certain way with careful handling of these hunted animals that which they had found and overcame and harvested. And the way the animal was handled, there were songs and prayers made, and then there were also certain medicines that were offered to them when the hunt was successful.